Okay, hi everyone. Good morning. Before we start, do you guys have any question? Anything you wanted to discuss? No? All right. Okay, so yesterday we discussed about all the objects. Am I audible? You guys can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah,
All right, thank you. So yeah, yesterday we discussed about the Appian objects. What are the objects that we have? And we also discussed about the, detailed description about all those objects, and some of them we have seen that how do we use that. Okay, so today we are going to see about our development from where we can start. So we decided to go on with customer onboarding process application, where we will be, onboarding a customer. We will be creating a process for onboarding a customer, and we'll see the approval process, and we'll see how do we upload the documents and everything. All the things that will come into the in between the process. We'll do that. So before starting this application and designing the data model, I would like to discuss about something the variables, which is very important thing because we will be creating a lot of variables, and you should understand how a variable works in Appian, how we pass the value from one place to other place, and how do we get it calculated. So we'll talk about the variables in Appian today, and then we'll see how much we can progress today. All right. So I'm just creating some expression rules to let you understand that how a variables is going to be defined in Appian. So I'm just creating some expression rule. I'll keep the name as uh, variable class to discuss about variables. One more thing you must have seen that whenever I'm creating any rule, right? I'm just only the name is mandatory, but I'm putting some description as well. It's a very good practice. Make it in your habit whenever you create a rule. Put some description about that rule, that what that rule is going to do. These all things will help you. If you want to find certain rules, or if someone comes later in your application in development, right? So they can understand what this rule is basically performing. So it's a good idea, good practice always to discuss and put a description. Okay. All right. So I'm going to create a variable called COP variable class, and then I'll say create. And you see this variable is get created inside the COP rules and constant folder. Okay. So how do we declare a variable in Appian? To declare a variable in Appian, we must use a function called local variable. So this is the name of the function. It will start with the a bang. We say exclamatory notation. We used to call it bang. So a bang local variables. This is a function which is required to declare a variables in your Appian. Okay. So if we want to declare any variable, we use a prefix called local bang, because all these variables that we are going to create are local to these rules. It cannot be used outside, so we call it as a local variable. So to declare a variable, we say local bang, and then the name of the variable. Let's say I'm going to say anything called name. That's it. So one variable is being declared. We do not have to define the type of the variable while creating a local variables. Okay. So here if you see that I have given the variable name as a name, and then I say local bank name. If I go and assign any value here, right, it means that this local variable will get treated as a text variable. Okay. So if I go and return simply this one and click on the text tool, so you see that it says that Raj and then text. So we haven't defined a type here. If I go and assign any integer value to this, it will treat as a integer, number integer. Okay. So we don't need to define particular type of a variable here for any primitive types. It will automatically get it converted to that particular type. Let's say if I'm going to say false, right? If I click on text rule, you see it says it's a boolean, right? So Appian internally understand what kind of value you are passing to this. It behaves according to that. You do not have to define a particular type. Is that clear? Is it clear, guys? Any question?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay, so this is how we declare the variable in Appian. If you would like to define a type, if you remember yesterday we created a CDT, custom data type, just to showcase you guys, test employees, right? This is a one of the variable, I mean CDT type, because we want to have all the information at one place. In that case, what we need to do, we need to define a type of it. Now let's say I'm going to define a variable called employee. Okay, if I would like to make this employee of my particular CDT type, in that case we have to define it. So I'll say type bang, name of your variable COP, and you see it's popping up here. So just hit tab. Now this is being type of CDT. If I go and return this local employee, right, you see that it will have of this particular type, right? So we declare a local variable employee. It's not a primitive type, it's a type of a CDT. Okay, and it can contain all the fields that we have in our CDT. Now let's say if I want to add some value, we can hit inside this bracket and then say first name, and then we have last name, then we have DOB, let's say I'm going to use a function called today. Today function is returns today's date, and then we have age. Okay, now if I return this value now, okay, this particular thing, if I click on test roll now, it will have the values. So if you want to declare any variable of a particular CDT type, we need to use a type bang operator and the name of the CDT. It will auto and hit the tab, it will take the particular format. Now out of this, if I would like to fetch the name, so I just say dot first name. If I do like this, I'll get only the first name. If I say age, I'll get the age. Okay, clear? Any question here?
We are clear. So this is an object, right? The fifth one, the local employee which you have declared of type COP test employee, right?
Yeah.
So how and what is the syntax for the, I mean, the list? How you define?
List. No, it's not a list. It's a single type variable, right?
It's
For
a single
now,
type,
this
but
is
how if we have to do as a list, how we can do?
you want to declare a list here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to have a multiple employees,
Yes.
isn't it? You just put it inside the curly braces. I'll give you the example of list. Okay. Let me first clear one by one. We'll see how do we declare a list as well. Okay. So is that clear? Any question here till here, guys? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay. Now let me show you the list. Okay. First of all, how do we declare an array? Now let's say I would like to have, I'll say local bank. Let's say I'm say age list. So I can declare with this curly braces. If I say in the curly braces, and then let me say I pass 25, 14, 85, 96, right? So this we are defining within the curly braces. It means that the Appian will automatically understand that how, I mean, is whatever we are declaring it, what's the type of it. So click on test roll. So it says list of number integers. It has 4 items. Okay. So you see this one, this is having 4 items. So we declare a list here with the help of curly braces. Okay. Now if you want to make this as a list, so declare like this. Okay. Okay. And if you return this local employee, you see it has 2 items. Okay. Both are of the type of local test employees. Is that clear? Any question, guys? Yes, no?
Sorry, Harsha. So my network got disconnected.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
So yeah, we use this curly braces to declare a list. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Now let's say how do we work with the variables? Let's say I'm gonna say we declare one more variable called local pang age, and I'll say 25. Okay. Now what I want to do is that I want to display the local name with the age, and we'll see how do we work with the concatenation. So I'll say local pang name ampersand. So ampersand is used to concat the two values. I'll say ampersand space is like this, and then I will say again ampersand local bang. I'll say age. Anyone can guess what is the output of this is going to be?
Age is 25. I mean, name Raj, age is 25.
Correct. So it's very simple, but it says what is saying? Oh, sorry, not this one. So Raj age is 25. So we can also concatenate the variables simply if you do not have to use anything. There is a function called concat as well, but ampersand also works there. So I mean, it's very easy to declare the variables in Appian, and it's very easy to work with that. You don't have to declare the type unless you need to declare as a CDT. Okay. All right. Now let me show you a few more examples. I can just simply comment this one. We can also declare local variables of a map type. Let's say I'm going to say local bang. I'll say student. Okay. I'll say map. I mean, we don't need even a map function. We can simply say like this. Okay. I'll say class. Okay. I'll say I'm going to say physics. And then I'll say grade A plus. Okay. So this is what if you are going to return this particular variable. If I click on test tool, so it says that it's a kind of a dictionary where we have a key value pair declared here. So we can also declare a variable according to that. If you want to reform some value from somewhere else, right, you can do that. So class and name, you can also define the dictionary from a local variables. All right. It all depends on the requirement. If you want to create a set of value based on your own requirement, you can do that. If you don't want to create any CDT, you can make use of this dictionary, right? So this is also possible to do that. You don't have to declare any type. It will automatically understand that what is the type of your variable. So it's a dictionary type. Okay. All right. What else in the variables? Yeah, you can also declare a list of lists. Let's say I'm gonna say array of array. I'm gonna say like this. In the first set of element, I would say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we say 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. If I return this array of array, you see it's a JAX array, right? It's having first one having 5 elements, second one is having 4 elements. So I return this particular array of array. It says number of, but it is getting it 9 items all together. However, it's having 2 different sets. Now, if I say like this, if I set 1 and I'll say set 2. If I do like this, then what will happen? Let's see. Then it divided the numbers between 2 sets. The reason it got all concatenated because both are the same type of array, so it get concatenated initially. So what I did, I just defined with the key value pair, set 1, set 2. Now it get differentiated. Okay. So it's also a dictionary which is having multiple sets. So array of array you can also define. All right. Now all these things that we have created is called local variables. All right. Any question till here, guys? Yes, no, please.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna delete everything. Let me show you something more interesting. So I'm going to declare a variable here. Okay, say local bank x. I'm just gonna say 10. This is local variable x, which is having 10 value assigned. We have assigned a value 10 to it. Okay. Now inside this, I'm going to declare one more local variable function. I'm gonna say local bank y, and I'm gonna assign the value called 20 to it. Okay, and I'm going to return here local bank x plus local bank y. Sorry. Okay. So any guesses? What could be the output? So this 10 is inside the first local variable, and inside this local variable function, we declare one more local variable, and there I declare local 20. Now local y is a 20, and I'm doing local x plus local y. So what could be the output? Shall we get? I mean, we will get 30 or not? That's my question is.
I think we won't get 30, right? Because it is not declared inside the local variable. The 10x.
Okay. Anyone else? Can we get 30 out of it? It's very simple. Yes, no, at least there is no harm. Okay, let me call out the names. Pranay, what do you think?
I think it's no, Ravi.
No. Okay. Namdev, what do you think? What could be the output? All right. So even though this local variable is declared inside this local variable function, however, this itself is a part of this particular parent. So let's say this is a child. Okay. Let's say this is a child declaration, right? And this is a parent. Why? Because this is a child, this is a parent, because this is being defined within the parent itself, right? Yeah. Hello.
Hello. Sorry, my network got disconnected. Yeah, it will not.
Okay. Right. Even though this particular variable is being, I mean, you see, this entire section is a part of this, the whole local variable, right? That's the reason when I was typing, I was getting the suggestion as local x, isn't it? So if I click on threshold, I'll get the 30, because even though it is being declared here, and this is being child of this can always use the property of its parent, right? Just like you can use your property of your father until there's a some other case, but yeah, right? You can also access your property of your grandparents, right? Same way, just because this particular local variable section is a subsection of this whole parent, local variable, you can still utilize the property, right? Now, if I try to use local bank x, which I'm getting it because I'm declaring outside of this one, and here we have this declared, right? Now, if I try to use local bank y, I'm not getting that option, isn't it? See, if I say y, it's saying that improperly scoped variable. Why? It is available inside this one. Okay, we understand why, because this particular is a parent and child of this particular parent local variable. But if we are trying to oppose it, like local y to access outside of this one, I'm not able to access it. Isn't it interesting? Like, you can access your father's property, but your father cannot use your property, right? Today's truth. But yeah, so when we say local voice 20 inside this variable, inside this local declaration, it means that this is locally to this only. We cannot access the output of this one. Sorry, we cannot access the variable declared inside this bracket, because it will be available only inside this particular bracket. Got it? Is that clear, guys?
Yeah.
Okay. And if you see why we are able to access this local X here, because this is still inside this bracket. Clear? Cool. So yes, this is the way of declaring the variables, and where it can be accessible. To showcase you this example is that you cannot use or access any variable which is getting declared inside as local. You can only use inside this parenthesis. Outside of this, if you try to access here, you will not be able to access it. Nothing will be declared here because it's out of scope. If I say X or Y, it says out of scope. It's wrongly declared. You cannot use it. Okay. So all the local variables that we are trying to use, that can be used only inside this parenthesis where it has been declared. You do whatever inside this parenthesis. You declare n number of variables, doesn't matter. You will still be able to access it, but only inside this parenthesis. If you see here, this Y will only be accessible inside this parenthesis. Okay. Now, if you want to access some output of it, then you can do that. Now, let's say I'm going to declare this one as local bank addition. So what I did is that I just declare one more local variable, and in this local variable, I declare one more local variable function and doing the calculation here. Now, if I say local bank X plus local bank addition, can anyone tell me what would be the output? So first of all,
I think 40.
40. If I click on test tool, we are getting 40. So from where we are getting 30? Local X is 10, which is fine. So from where we are getting 30? We are getting the 30 from this particular set, right? It is returning 10 plus 20 here, 30. So it becomes the output of this particular local variable is a 30, which we are getting it. And we are storing that, capturing that to a local addition variable. And we are using that local addition variable to calculate again to add to the local X. So 30 plus 10 is 40. So what we can access? We can access output of this variable, but we cannot access the local variable declared inside it. Okay. Is that clear?
So local addition
Yeah.
is a function.
Yeah.
Local
Yeah,
addition
local addition is a local variable. You see, it's declared with a local addition. I mean, local bank. It's a variable declaration. We have declared one variable, and we are assigning a calculation of it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Right. So we are doing a set of operation here, and we are assigning to this local addition. Okay. And we are using this local addition to get added here. And it's not a function; it's a variable. This you can say a set of function that we are performing. But it's an open set. We haven't created some rules, but it's an open set, so which we are performing here. Got it? Is that clear, guys?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. Now let's say this is all about the local variables. But let's say let me save this one because all right. Now let me create one more expression. I'll say do addition to add two numbers. I'll say create. Okay. So let's say I'm going to declare one more variable here. I mean, function called local variable. I mean, which we may not require, but for example, I'm just giving to you, and I'm going to say that local bank X, I'll say 10, and local bank Y, I'll say 20. Okay, and I'm also saying that return local bank X plus local bank Y. So if I'm going to click on test rule, this is going to give 30. Doesn't matter how many number of times you will call this rule or you will use this rule, it will always give you 30, right? Which is not a good nature in the sense, because we may require to add values on different, whatever we want to pass. Let's say I want to pass 5 plus 5, just like a calculator. So I should get 10, right? But in this rule, this will always just static. It will always give you 30. Now, what we can do is that if you want to make this rule as a dynamic, and if you want to utilize this rule so that do the addition, but based on the value that we want to pass, for that we need to use another type of variable, which in Appian we call rule input. Rule input is basically, we need to declare to define that this particular rule requires some input. Okay, so how do we declare a rule input? If you see in this window, there's a small icon here, this arrow icon. Click on it. It will open a rule input window. I'm gonna click on this one plus icon, and I say variable X. Okay. Now the difference between local variables and rule input is that you need to declare the type. Here, if you see, you need to define the type. I'm saying gonna number integer. I'm gonna say one more variable Y. It's again going to be number integer. Okay. Now, how do we refer this particular rule input? Right, as the name said, rule input, it means that Ri. So I'm gonna say Ri bang. It start giving me the options, variable X. It's a plus Ri bang var Y. Now we haven't declared any local variable, right? In this case, right now there is no local variable. We can simply get remove this one as well. Now it's this particular function is simply going to return Ri var X plus Ri var Y. If I pass number, let's say 5 here, and I pass number 3 here, if I click on the test rule, I'll get 8. So now this rule is also doing the addition, but it's become dynamic in nature. Let me click on the save changes. Now you see that whatever value you will pass to this, it will do the addition, right? So this is also doing the addition, but it's in dynamic nature, but it requires the input. Okay. So how do we use this rule? Let's say if we are going to create a calculator, and let me create one more rule. I'll say call. Okay, let me do it here itself. Oops. What happened? Okay, now let's say I am going to declare a variable here. I'm going to say local bang Y. I'm going to say 25. Now we would like to call the rule that we have created, which is doing the addition. So if we want to call any rule that user has created, we need to type rule bang, right? And then give the name COP underscore do addition, right? Once you call this particular rule, in the description window, it will say that it has 2 inputs, var X and var Y. So you need to pass this. So let me copy this var X and var Y. So the var X I will map with the local bang X, and for var Y I will map with the local bang Y. Okay, comma is missing. Now if I click on test rule, I'm getting the output at 35. So from where we are getting this addition is being happening inside this rule. We are just mapping with the value that we need to pass. If I pass some different number, then it will get the output according to that. Is that clear? Do you understand now what is the use of rule input, and then how do we call a particular rule to make use of that rule input? Now let's say you have created an interface and you have created 2 fields, input fields, that from where you're getting the input from the user. So this rule we can call on that particular interface on a button click. Whenever user will call this, we'll get an output from there, right? Is it clear, guys? Use of local variables. Any questions, anyone? if you have doubts, please ask. If you keep thinking that we'll ask something later, or might be it's a dumb question, I should not be asking, forget about all those things. So just throw your questions.
No question.
Thank you. All right. Now let's say we have declared one local variable of type of a particular CDT, right? How do we declare that inside a role input? So let's say I'm going to create a role input. I'm going to say employee, right? This is a name. I'm in the type. If you go to the drop down, you will get only the primitive options. If you want to declare of a particular CDT type, you just have to type it COP_ test employee. Now, if you want to make it as a multiple, you just check this checkbox. Then this will become as a multiple. Okay. So this is how you can also declare a local variable of a type of a CDT. Okay. All right. Now let's see some example of interface. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah. Go
Suppose
ahead.
we have created one rule.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in that there are two parameters. But suppose from front end, from the caller
So
function, if
one second,
we get
Namdev, I think your voice is very low. Can you
hello,
bring your
am
mic?
I audible now?
It's same.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm trying to understand. Yeah.
Actually, just wanted to know, is there any provision to pass default value? Suppose if we are not passing the parameter from front end, the caller function, but we want to do the program, sorry, the analysis or the addition with the help of default value. If user is not passing particular value, then it should
Mm-hmm.
consider default value. So that kind of scenario we can do in this particular
Yeah, you
variable
can do
section.
that, no? Inside this rule. Now let's say if I don't pass anything right now for case I don't pass anything, it is null, right? Now if you want
Okay.
to handle this, right? If you want to handle if it is null, then use something else, right? So let's say I'm gonna say like this. Let me comment this particular. I'm gonna say if is null or empty. What is null or empty? Ri bang, where x is null or empty, use let's say 0. Okay. Otherwise, Ri bang, where x only. This. Now I'll say plus. Let me copy this. Paste it here. I'll say where y. If my where y is null or empty, then use otherwise. So if I pass test rule now, 0 plus 0 is returning 0. Now if you change this 0 to something else, let's say 5 plus 5, if you don't pass anything, you will always get 10. So we are just saying that if it is null or empty, then use 5, otherwise use the value that we are passing. So if I go and pass, let's say 10 plus 25, so I'll get the output. Now if I don't pass any one of them, then what is going to be give the output? Anyone?
I think the error.
Sorry.
Sorry,
I
what's the
think
expected
we'll
output?
get error
Error. Why will get error?
because we are not giving any input, no, for a
No, if we
variable
are not
by.
giving input, so we have handled it, right? If it is null or empty, then use 5. So we have handled this error here.
Okay. Then we'll get.
Yeah, Pramod, I mean, you're saying something? Anyone? What it's going to be the output?
I think it would be 15, but another way, like I would say 10, because even though if you pass null, it will addition the rule inputs like 10 plus null 10 plus 0 equals to 10. In other way, like if it takes a default value, then 10 plus 5, it would be 15
It's a
No, it
15.
will
Why?
be
Because we have
15.
handled
It
this
will be
with
15.
the null.
as
If it
default
is
value.
null, then we are saying that consider 5.
Yeah.
It will be 15 only.
Yeah, correct. If I say 0, if it is null or empty, then consider 0, then in that case it will be 10. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. I hope this is clear, guys. The local variables. Any questions? If you have, please to ask. Okay. All right. Now let's say you would like to create an interface. I'll say calculator. So I'm going to give two inputs here. So let's say first I'm going to define this interface, divide my interface into the multiple columns. So let's say I'm going to say I'm going to define 3 columns here. So first column I'll drag and drop one text field, or not a text field, I'll say integer field. Okay, and I give the name as let's say number 1. Okay, and we declare one local variable here. I'll say name as var x. Okay, let's say var x. All right, create another. Let's create some variables. I'm gonna say var x, var y, create another. I'm gonna create one more called result. Okay, create. So we declare 3 variables here. We declare var x, var y, and result. 3 variables we declared, and we are going to declare three field here. So 2 field for number 1 and one more field for number 2. I'm gonna say number 2 here. Okay, and I would like to display one text field here, but not there. And I'll give the name as result. Okay, and let's have let's say I would like to have one button. So I'll do the button here somewhere in. Okay, all right. So button, I'm gonna if you would like. Okay, let's. So this is a UI that we have created. Now we can also configure the values. Let's say number 1, I would like to save the value whatever user will provide here. I would like to save into the local var x. Same we need to declare as a local var x in the display value as well. Okay, here. So that if I click some value, if I input some value, that should be get captured to my local variable x. Okay, let me show you the code to understand this. I go to the expression mode. Here you see 3 variables is being declared inside the local variable function, and then we are designing one interface. For interface design, what we have done is that we have declared columns layout. This columns layout is going to divide your interface in multiple columns. So how many columns we have divided? 1, 2, 3. So this columns layout, you see there's an S here, we don't have an S. This column layout has 3 columns. For each column we have used one column layout, right? And then inside the first one I have declared one integer field called number 1. So if I say number 1, if I pass 10 to it, your var x is going to have the value 10. You see this? So whatever we have passing it here, that is going to capture here. Okay, same way in the number 2 field, where I want to save the value, I want to save the value to my local bank var y, and also we need to use the value parameter so that user can see what they have inserted. So I will use a value parameter and I will pass the same thing, local bank var y. Now if I do like this, now if I pass number 20 here, it will get captured to my var y. Okay, so whatever number user is providing, we are adding displaying it here, and we are also capturing to the local variables. Okay, now on the button click in the save into, what I will do is that there's a function called a bank save into my local bank result, that we have cleared one more local variable, right? Local bank result, call the rule that we have created. So I'll rule bank cop underscore do addition, right? And if you remember, it has two parameters, var x and var y. So we need to map it. Can anyone tell me what do I need to map it here into my local var x? This is the rule input name of this particular role, right? So what do I need to map here?
var x.
What var x?
Local var.
Local bank var x, right? Because the value is available inside this one. Same way for var y, we need to map it for local bank var y, right? Now if user go and click on this button, this will go and bring the result from it, and it will capture to the local bank result, right? Now we have one more column layout as a result. So inside this one, I'll say value is going to be local bank result. I don't need a save into and all. I'll just simply say read only true, because this is going to be read only field. So here I'll say local result. Right now nothing is being displayed here. If I click on button, click, or I'll say give a name as add. So you see, once we do that, it gets the value 30. From where it is getting 30? It's getting 30 from the rule that we created for the addition, right? And we are calling this on the button click. If you are clicking on the add, then we are getting the value of 30 here based on the input that user has provided. So let's say I'm going to say change it to 25, and then click on add again, it will change to 45, right? So you see how we have declared this, created one rule, and we are using that rule as a addition function, and we are passing the value and getting the output from there. So we are capturing that output to my local bank result variable, and we are using this variable to display it onto the UI. Is that clear, guys? We will be creating more and more interface, but it's a very simple thing. We just declared 3 variables. We map it with the fields to capture the value from the user input, and then we are passing these values to the particular rule that we created and getting result to the local variable, and using that local variable to display it. Any doubt, anything if you have in your mind, please let me know.
Please continue.
All right. Okay. This is all about the local variables and rule inputs, and we see that example. How do we pass the value to some other rule and bring the output from there? And we also created one rule to understand how basically you can reuse a rule multiple places for our purpose, right? So I think let it be till here. We can continue tomorrow, and we will start doing the data model of our application. That's for the customer onboarding, and we can push it. You see the local variable we wanted to discuss because it's going to be useful for multiple places. So you should get it clear before implementing it anywhere else, in the actual application. All right, guys. So I'll be sharing the accounts details where you can go and practice in WhatsApp group shortly. Meanwhile, if you have any question, you can get in touch. And yeah, anything else you wanted to discuss today?
Yeah, Ravi. Can we get your contact detail? Suppose if we want to continue, sorry.
You will get it. I mean, they are in the process of creating the group, WhatsApp group. So
Okay.
you will be added there. Yeah,
Okay.
cool. All right, guys. Then let's connect tomorrow and we can continue. I think tomorrow is Friday, right? Yeah. All right. Thank you.